Oh, just backing everybody over.
Tell me when you guys are ready.
Ready?
I'm good.
The clearance lights are clean, clear, proper color. The windshield is not busted or shattered. It's properly sealed around the weather stripping. The wipers are flat against the glass. They're not missing, ripped, or torn. The headlights, high beams, low beams, four-way flashers, and the reflective lenses are clean, clear, proper color. The truck is not leaning left or right, indicating a suspension or tire issue. There's no puddles of coolant or oil underneath. There's no black soot on the exhaust, indicating a leak. It's not cracked or damaged. The fuel tanks are not illegally welded, leaking, or damaged. The mounting straps have no shiny metal around the straps or on the hardware, indicating that they are backed off or loose. I would remove the fuel cap, make sure it's not cut, ripped, or torn on the seal, and reinstall it. The fuel lines are not leaking, they're not damaged or broke. The coolant reservoir is not leaking, it's not damaged or cracked, it's filled to manufacturer specs. The cap is on tight. The lines have no abrasions, cuts, or leaks. Windshield washer fluid reservoir is not leaking, cracked, or damaged. The cap is on tight. The alternator, all the hardware is attached, it's not loose or damaged. No corrosions on the terminals. It is belt driven. The belt driving has no more than 3/4 inch of play. The belt itself is not cut, ripped, or frayed. The water pump is also belt driven. All the hardware is intact. It's not leaking or damaged. The hoses have no abrasions, cuts, or leaks to them. The radiator is properly mounted and secured. It's not damaged or leaking. The hoses have no abrasions, cuts, leaks, and the clamps are tight. The engine oil dipstick is properly mounted. It's not damaged or loose. I'll pull it out, wipe it off, reinsert it, pull it back out, make sure it's filled to manufacturer specs. If I had to add oil, I'd add here at the filler neck and make sure the cap is on tight and it's not leaking or missing. The power steering reservoir is not leaking, it's not damaged or cracked, it's filled to manufacturer specs. The cap is on tight. The hoses have no abrasions, cuts, or leaks to them. The power steering pump is also gear driven. The hardware is attached, it's not leaking or damaged. The hoses have no abrasions, cuts, or damages to them. The air compressor is gear driven. There's no audible sounds of a leak. All the hardware is attached. It's not damaged or leaking in any way. The steering shaft is not illegally welded, bent, or broken. It has no more than 10 degrees of play. The U-joints on either end are properly greased. Steering gearbox is not damaged, leaking, or missing. The pitman arm is not illegally welded, bent, or broken. The drag link is not damaged. It's not broken or loose. Properly secured with castle nuts and cotter pins on either side. The steering knuckle is not illegally welded, it's not damaged, it's not broken. The front axle is not twisted, it's not legally welded or bent. The U-bolts are properly attaching it to the springs. There's no shiny metal around the tops of the U-bolts or on the threads, indicating that they're loose. The springs are not sprung, scissored, or cracked. The front spring hanger is properly greased, it's not cracked or damaged. The rear shackle is properly greased, it's not damaged or broken. The tie rods are not legally welded, bent, or twisted. They're properly attached with castle nuts and cotter pins on either side. The front shock is gas charged. There's no dirt accumulating around the bottom, indicating of a leak. The upper and lower mounts are intact. Front frame section has no illegal welds. All the holes are filled, no cracks. The ABS line and brake hose has no abrasions, cuts, or bumps. The surface brake chamber is properly mounted and secured, not damaged or loose. The push rod coming out of the end of it is connected to the slack adjuster with a pin and a cotter pin. The slack adjuster is not missing, bent, or loose. I would pull outward on the slack adjuster to make sure there's no more than 1 inch of travel, indicating that the brakes are in adjustment. The brake pads have more than 1/4 inch of pad life. They're not cracked, missing, or loose. The drums are not bluing or cracking, indicating excessive heat. There's no oil residue, indicating a blown wheel seal. The inner rim has no legal welds or cracks. It's also properly sealed around the inside of the tire. The interior and exterior sidewall has no abrasions, bumps, or cuts. The tread plate is wearing evenly, though more than 430 seconds. This is a virgin tire, cannot be recapped or retreaded. The outer rim has no illegal welds or cracks, properly secured with lug nuts that have no shiny metal threads or rust streaks indicating that they are loose. The hub seal has all the hardware intact, not leaking or cracked, filled to manufacturer's specs. The valve stem, there's no audible sounds of a leak, it's not damaged or loose. I would check it with a tire pressure gauge to make sure this tire is inflated to manufacturer's specs. Side marker lights, clean, clear, proper color. Mirror brackets, not damaged, loose, or missing. Spot mirror and rear view mirror are clean, clear, and visible. The door handle is not missing or damaged. The inner wheel or the inner seal is not have no abrasions, cuts, or bumps to that. Door properly latches. The side step is not damaged, loose, or broken. Will adequately support my weight. The back glass, the DOT tape is clean, clear, and visible. The back glass is not shattered or busted, properly sealed around the weather stripping. The catwalk is not missing, loose, or broke to support my weight. The rear frame is not illegally welded, bent, or broken. The side steps has all the hardware attached. It's not missing, loose, to support my weight. The electrical pigtail, I would pull it loose from the back of the cab, make sure there's no corrosion or damage. The electrical harness has no illegal splices, cuts, or breaks. I would pull the electrical harness out of the back of the trailer to make sure there's no corrosion, damage, or vent terminal on this side. The gland hands, threads, emergency, fluid service. I would pull it off, inspect the rubber seals, make sure they're not cut, ripped, or frayed, and reinstall those. The hoses going from the trailer to the tractor have no illegal splices, no cuts, no breaks. The air fittings on the back of the tractor has no audible sounds of leaks, they're not cracked. The pogo stick and support harness is adequately supporting the lines off the catwalk, and they're not broke, missing, or loose. The drive shaft is not illegally welded, bent, or broken. The U-joints on either end are properly greased. The rear end is not leaking, it's not damaged or loose. The cross member has no illegal welds, cracks, or damage. The air lines going to the park brake chamber has no abrasions, bumps, or cuts. The park brake chamber is not missing, loose, or broken. The push rod coming out of the end of it is connected to a slack adjuster with a pin and a cotter pin. The slack adjuster is not bent, loose, or missing. I would release the brakes, pull outward on the slack adjuster to make sure that there's 1 inch of travel, indicating that the brakes are in adjustment. The trailing arm is not illegally welded, bent, or broken. The springs are not sprung, scissored, or cracked, properly secured with U-bolts to the rear axle. They have no shiny metal around the top for the threads, indicating that they are loose. The front spring hanger is not illegally welded, bent, or broken. All the hardware is properly attached. The quarter fender is not damaged or missing. Adequate distance from the fender and the tire, fender and the ground. Brake pads have more than a 1/4 inch pad life. They're not cracked, missing, or loose. The drums have no bluing or cracking, indicating excessive heat. No oil residue, indicating a blown wheel seal. The inner rim has no illegal welds, no cracks, properly sealed around the bead of the tire. Interior and exterior sidewall of both inner and outer duals have no abrasions, bumps, or cuts. No obstructions between the tires, no visible daylight between the rims. The outer rim has no illegal welds, cracks, or damage, properly secured with lug nuts and no shiny metal threads or rust streaks. The inner and outer valve stem on an inner and outer tire are checked with a tire pressure gauge to make sure the bolts inflated to manufacturer's specs. There's no audible sounds of a leak, they're not missing or loose. Behind the beauty cover is my axle shaft, all the hardware is in place, there's no leaks or damage. The tread pattern is wearing evenly. There's more than 230 seconds of tread depth. These can be recapped and retreaded. The fixed fifth wheel assembly is not illegally welded, bent, or broken. All the hardware is intact, and there's no shiny metal threads or rust streaks indicating any one of those are loose. The release handle is pushed all the way in, indicating it's in a locked position. It's not missing, loose, or broken. The fifth wheel skid plate has no illegal welds, cracks, or breaks. The trailer apron has no excessive wear, no damage or cracks. There's no visible daylight between the apron and the fifth wheel. It's also properly greased. properly mounted into the trailer apron. It's not damaged, legally welded, or broken. The locking jaws are properly seated around the shank of the kingpin. There's no excessive wear, cracks, or breaks. The torsion bar is not illegally welded, bent, or broken. The shocks are gas charged. There's no dirt accumulating around the bottom indicating a leak. The upper and lower mounts are intact. The airbags have no abrasions, bumps, or cuts. No audible sounds of a leak. The upper and lower mounts are intact. Brake tail turn lights are clean, clear, proper color. Mud flap bracket, mud flap, not damaged, loose, or missing. Adequate distance between the mud flap and tire, mud flap in the ground, and the mud flap and the landing gear for turning radius. Front of the trailer, all the rivets and panels are intact. There's no protrusions in or out. The clearance light up top is clean, clear, proper color. The height is clearly marked 13.6. The DOT tape down the side is more than 50%. It's clean, clear, and visible. On the side of the trailer, all the rivets and panels are intact. There's no protrusions in or out. The landing gear jack is not damaged, loose, or broken. It's in the raised position. The landing pad is not missing, loose, or broken. The jack handle is in the stowed position. It's not loose, cracked, or damaged. The support beams underneath the trailer are not missing, twisted, or broken. There's no holes in the floor. The trailer axle is not illegally welded, bent, or broken. The air lines go to the park brake chamber, has no abrasions, bumps, or cuts. The park brake chamber is not damaged, loose, or missing. The push rod coming out of the end of it is connected to a slack adjuster with a pin and a cotter pin. The slack adjuster is not loose, missing, or broken. I would release the brakes, pull outward on the slack adjuster, and make sure there's no more than 1 inch of travel, indicating that the brakes are in adjustment. The trailing arm is not illegally welded, bent, or broken. The springs are not sprung, scissored, or cracked. No shiny metal threads around the nuts or around the top of the U-bolt, indicating that they're loose. The spring hanger is not bent, loose, or damaged. Brake pads have more than 1/4 inch of pad life, do not crack, missing, or loose. The drums have no bluing or cracking, indicating excessive heat. No oil residue, indicating a blown wheel seal. The inner rim has no illegal welds or cracks. It's properly sealed around the bead of the tire. Interior and exterior sidewall of both inner and outer duals have no abrasions, bumps, or cuts. There's no obstructions between the duals. No visible daylight between the rims. The outer rim has no illegal welds or cracks. It's properly sealed around the bead of the tire. Secured with lug nuts that have no shiny metal threads or rust streaks, indicating that they're loose. Outer hub seal. No crack or damage. It's full to manufacturer specs. The valve stem indicator at the outer rim. Check the tire pressure gauge. Make sure both tires are explained to the manufacturer specs. There's no audible sounds of a leak. They're not missing or loose. Side marker light, clean, clear, proper color. Mud flap bracket, mud flap, not damaged, missing. Adequate distance between the mud flap and tire, mud flap and the ground. The DOT bumper is not damaged, missing, or loose. The DOT tape is 100% across the back, clean, clear, and visible. Brake tail turn lights, clean, clear, proper color. Primary and secondary door latch, both in the lock position. All the hardware is attached, it's not damaged or broken or loose. All the rivets and panels are in the back door of the